When I was but a small child, we had no video game system. I spent most of my time watching Star Wars Episode 1 on VHS, or reading books tucked up under my sheets with a small torch, listening carefully for approaching parents. My friends, however, did have video game systems. Going to friends' houses and playing on their PlayStations was the only kind of exposure I got to the world of video games then, and I knew that I wanted in. But it was not for a long time to be. Until one day, in the midst of 2003, when my family were gathered in the car and taken to a game store. An immense amount of effort had been put into the choice. My dad had asked his friends at work which system was best, prices had been carefully researched and considered, until my parents decided on a system. The Xbox. I wasn't involved in the process, but then at the age of 7, my biggest contribution would likely just have been, "Can it go in my room?" The assistant took the big green box down from the shelf and grabbed a couple of games that would come with the console. When we got home, I opened those 2 games and chose my favourite, Project Gotham Racing or Need for Speed Underground. Need for Speed Underground was the first game that we popped in the disc tray, and when I was introduced to the world of street racing with that opening cinematic, I was hooked. Project Gotham just couldn't compete in my mind. I couldn't stick ridiculous spoilers on my car, so I wasn't interested. And this was my first experience of gaming in my own living room, and it has stuck with me ever since. I have tried to recapture that feeling many times, but I've never really found a Need for Speed game that matches up. The worlds are too clean, the customization not deep enough. I wouldn't say I have a bad relationship with Need for Speed, but it's never quite hit the spot. Until I saw the trailer for Need for Speed Heat. Tuner cars were back, from Supras and 240SXs to Skylines and Eclipses. These were the cars I remember. The world is slick with rain and full of twisty city streets. Could this be the Need for Speed I had waited for? In a word, yes. From the picking of my first car to the first race that I won, and onward from the first custom part I plonked on my car, the feeling was back. The racing, the world, and the overall nature of the game just felt so familiar. I loved tuning my car, taking a relatively mundane road machine and strapping all the bits you could ever want on it, then moving it to the paint booth to make it look truly ridiculous. The original had a comprehensive set of customization options, but Heat makes those options look paltry in comparison. From wide body kits to vented bonnets and even custom sound systems, there's an immense amount that you can do with your cars. I think the biggest thing for me, however, is the racing. In Underground, it was all there was to do, and it was all great. Here, the racing is also a lot of fun. There's something brilliant about zooming around city streets in a silly car covered with decals and body bits, neon lighting flashing off each panel. It was good then, and it's great now. One of the best elements of the newer approach with the open world in tow is the game's ability to have more track options. There were only a few routes in the past, but here there are a great deal more afforded by the extra freedom. Of course, the open world is not something new for Need for Speed, but it's the first open world that has felt truly Need for Speed to me. While it's not permanent nighttime, there is a lot more interesting stuff in it that reminds me of the first game that I ever played. I love the outskirts of the city as you follow the interstate into the hills. It's a highly discoverable map as well, and finding the little collectibles dotted around the map creates a great excuse to just drive around and explore. And when you do take it into nighttime, when the higher stakes races are available and the police are out in force, the game truly comes alive. Nipping around in the dark makes me feel like the illegal street racer that the original game convinced me I could be. The night looks fantastic, with streetlights sending shadows all over the place, and the high rises of the city casting great glows against the sky. The nighttime races do tend to highlight the weakness of the AI, however, with races that put in more effort if you're behind than they do if you're in front. Really, to make the game more satisfying, it should be the other way around, so as to make you feel like an expert driver as you easily pass your opponents, leaving the challenge to staying in front. In the long run though, I don't care that the AI is weak, because the customization and the racing in Need for Speed Heat take me straight back to my lounge circa 2003 as I'm sat on the floor staring up at the TV while a tuned Honda Civic streets its way through its opponents. Thanks for watching this instalment of Driving December. I've been Matt and you're on the Den. Of course, given the technical difficulties we experienced last week, I wasn't left with much time for playing by series, so I decided to switch the format this week. But don't worry, playing by series will be back on Thursday. Anyway, if you'd like to watch more of my videos like this one, make sure you're subscribed, and if you want to talk about Need for Speed, drop us a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and in the meantime, stay safe.